Corey Shaheen, Starbucks. A regional. It was really quite delightful for me to see your card just sitting there resident in one of your Starbucks that have always been good to me. And so, the interesting thing is when I was a younger man in the military, traveling all over the world, I remember, the fact that when I had a McDonald's hamburger, I was just so impressed. I thought, boy, this really is something of America. And then now when you're in Uganda, you see that there are people waiting in line around the corner for Kentucky Fried Chicken, and women have stopped breastfeeding because they want to westernize. The whole world is looking at other cultures and emulating in some way, whether or not culture is an illusion, I suppose, in all ways, because of our adaptation capabilities as a human, race, as in a totality, regardless of these nationalities that really represent culture, which is an illusion, as we know. So, and because I'm fluent in Russian. I was a Russian linguist in the Air Force. And then I had a mining company in Poland, so I became fluent in Polish. I lived in Japan as a Russian crypto linguist, and so while I was there, I learned, quite a bit about Japanese. But in the late 90s, I was offered a position with Starbucks, not to waste your time, as global director of procurement. As of recent, I have, some projects that I'm getting ready to launch. But I was stopped dead I've been stopped dead in my tracks here, for some time, and this does very much relate. I promise not to be over 3 minutes, so that it's not the longest voicemail you ever heard. So the fact is since we are, the world of coffee resonates here, since the headquarters of coffee is here, regardless of where it's grown. You guys know that your company has grown into, a GDP of a country. And so in our city of Seattle, I have to say that there's watered down coffee. To my great dismay, it's really quite saddening. And so my initiatives have been put off since February 8th, year of the monkey. February 8th, year of the monkey, by, some quite interesting things that had happened. But the long story short is I took a dip into the homeless shelters of Seattle on January 21st of this year to see how quickly I could get through it. And as a veteran, I noticed, because I was in there really for the veterans, then I became in love with some of the homeless people as well. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people that just, if I stop long enough, I'll fall in love with a tree. But the coffee that's being dispensated, in these, in these shelters is atrocious. And there's no accoutrement to go with. And so I think it's really sad, with the amount of coffee that we throw away every day, that there isn't a way that we can throw a bone to the homeless by making sure that they at least have cream and sugar for their coffee. I know that you're not in the business of milk, but I just think it's shameful, because people who have the tastes of your client base globally are the same people that are homeless, that will use a larger portion of their economy, let's say, to buy your coffee. And so I've broken my limit. I guess it's because I know that you won't allow this to continue. I know that. And your company's far too generous, in many ways, for us not to be able to solve this problem resonantly, and very quickly, because the spirit of our society is sick, and people can't get through to it without connectivity. And for sure, coffee is part of the connectivity of what the morning represents. So I think it's something that I know that, in your heart and soul, you can't imagine that I was drinking watered down coffee that I actually thought was tea. I really swear to God on my soul, I thought it was tea for like about 5 minutes, and I was just drinking it since I was in a room full of the fellow tea drinkers. I thought that, well, for Christ's sakes, they must have run out of coffee again, when the coffee's never available typically anyway. And then after a bit, I realized that my taste buds were actually acclimating to the fact that it was so soaked out. There were no oils, there was no aftertaste, there was no luxury in it. And coffee is not a luxury, it's a necessity, since it is addictive. So, anyways, it would be nice for us to help those people be able to start their day in a better way. God bless you. And so Hobo Radio is behind this, and I'm sure the Starbucks, we could figure out a very easy way for us to make this happen, so that these people can have a good shot in the morning to get their way going the way they need to go, to get through it to it. God bless you.